The cake slid when I braked at the yellow light, leaving a sugar skid on the lid like a bad signature. I steadied the box and told myself I was still the kind of person who believed in surprises. Nate's birthday wasn't a milestone, but he'd had a week that made the calendar look predatory. Quarterly close, investor call, a gym membership he was pretending to enjoy. He said he'd be late. I said I'd leave the porch light on. I didn't say I'd noticed our grocery delivery code had been used after midnight twice this month, or that the front door camera had a new habit of glitching at exactly the moment's convenience would require. We live in a row house where sounds volunteer their opinions. Pipes clear their throats. Neighbors audition their playlists through the wall like scorch marks you can hear. The bakery had drawn a constellation of candles on the cake in buttercream, a galaxy that looked like a promise children can read and adults can't. I set it in the fridge and texted Nate, the casual lie married people use when they want the truth to be polite. Don't rush. At 9:36, my phone buzzed with the gym logo and a shrug of words. Running late. Don't wait up. The background light around the message was wrong. It was too bright for a boring locker room. When I opened the front camera app, I got a square of static, tidy as a secret. I went outside and checked the lens. Nothing. When I came back in, the app offered me a saved clip I hadn't asked for. 2 days ago, 12:11 a.m., a man with Nate's posture punching in the delivery code while looking over his shoulder as if neighbors can smell intention. He was carrying a small bag with the name of the boutique hotel near the river. The same bag sat on our entry table now, folded flat, the paper remembering its shape like a dancer who can't help stretching in line at the DMV. I could have waited. I could have told myself a story that would redeem the night and let morning do the real work. Instead, I made coffee like a dare and poured it into a travel mug like a mission. The boutique hotel was called the Linen House, as if nomming it after fabric could make all touch innocent. The lobby had the clean sheet smell of money and the hum of excellent manners. At the desk, a woman with a gold pin shaped like a key asked if she could help me as if helping was an indoor sport. I need to leave a note, I said, for a guest. Name, she asked. My husband, I said, because there are doors you open with nouns. Nathaniel Cross. The syllables felt like something I was returning past the due date. She tapped her keyboard the way people play calm songs in movies. She didn't blink when she said, Room 404, as if the number hadn't been claimed by jokes about absence. I thanked her, wrote a message that looked like nothing more than a folded square, and slid it into an envelope with the Linen House crest on the flap. She offered to send it up. I said I preferred the walk. The hallway smelled like new carpet and a wish to be left out of it. I'm not a dramatic person. I pay my taxes early. I floss. I collect jars, but my hand shook when I knocked. The door opened before it could become a second thought. The woman who answered had wet hair and a t-shirt that said City Walking Tour in cheerful fonts. She was my age, or 5 years older, with the kind of face that had learned to be interesting without makeup. Her eyes moved over me the way you scan a label in a language you only half learned. Caroline, she said, because the envelope had my name on it, and I realized the desk had announced me through the phone. Do you want to come in? Her voice wasn't guilty. It wasn't proud. It was the thing in between people reach for when they're trying to be decent while standing in the worst possible place. I stepped inside. The bed was made, not corporate tight but careful. A towel hung from the back of a chair like someone had begun to be casual and then changed their mind. On the dresser, a slice of cake, My cake sat on a plate, a fork abandoned as if the person had suddenly remembered etiquette is not dessert. Nate came out of the bathroom toweling his hands. No shirt. The line where his wedding ring should have been was pale, like a map of a river in drought. He stopped mid-motion and froze, a statue with regret for eyes. "Carrie," he said, "the nickname that belongs to college and cheap pizza, and the year we shared one coat." It sounded like a postcard from a city we moved away from because the rent went up on our innocence. "Happy birthday," I said. I put the envelope on the dresser next to the slice of cake that matched the one with the missing constellation in our fridge. "Are you going to tell me a story? Or are we going to try the other kind of honesty?" He looked at the woman, then at me. "This is Mara," he said. "We work out at the same." "No," I said, because I don't like unnecessary adjectives in confessions. "Let's try again." He sat on the edge of the chair and put the towel on his lap like a napkin at a dinner you don't want to attend. Mara stood near the window, not hiding, not performing penance. She looked tired and unexpectedly kind. "I didn't know he was married until last week," she said. "Then I did. Then I said we should stop. Then we didn't." "Thank you," I said, because first truths deserve manners. I turned to Nate. "Is there any part of this you want to keep?" He rubbed his face with both hands, a move I recognize from budgets and funerals. "I wanted to keep the part where someone looked at me like I wasn't a spreadsheet," he said. "That sounds like a cruelty to you. I hear it. I'm not trying to make it pretty. I just forgot how to be new." There was a time I would have tried to save him by insulting myself. There was a time I would have asked what I'd failed to be. I didn't do that. "Put on a shirt," I said. "We're not doing any of this half-dressed." He did. Mara sat. The air turned less theatrical and more human, which is worse in its own way. "What now?" Mara asked. A question that belonged to all of us and none of us. "Now I take my husband home," I said, "and he packs a bag, and we decide what our house will be called for the next few weeks." I looked at Nate. "Do you have a second phone, a secret chat, a private membership I'm going to learn about through a bank statement?" "No second phone," he said. "One regrettable chat, one membership I pretend is about wellness." "Okay," I said. "Delete the chat, cancel the membership. Mara, I'm not going to perform rage at you. It's late. Eat the cake if you want it, I don't." She laughed, a broken thing that still made sense. "You're very adult," she said. It didn't sound like a compliment or an insult. It sounded like a weather report. We left without slamming doors, which felt like a failure of cinema, but a win for the people in 402 who didn't ask for this plotline. In the elevator, Nate stared at the floor numbers as if they contained instructions. On the sidewalk, the air smelled like rain had texted that it might stop by. We walked to the car without touching. The city had 1,000 excuses for noise and chose all of them. At home, I set the travel mug in the sink and took the cake out of the fridge. The constellation looked like it had lost a star. Nate stood at the counter like he was waiting to be arraigned by appliances. "I'm not going to scream," I said. "Not because you don't deserve a version of that soundtrack, but because I want to remember what I say." He nodded. He always nods when paperwork is involved. We talked the way people talk when they know a contract is about to be redrafted. I asked questions with verbs. He used nouns. We did not barter over whose exhaustion had more trophies. I told him the code times. He told me the nights he had gone for a drive and ended up learning the lobby art at the Linen House by heart. When he cried, it was quiet. When I did, it was not. We took a break to drink water because bodily kindness is not a luxury when someone has handed you the messy end of a truth. "Do you want to stay married?" I asked finally. "Not tomorrow, in general." "Yes," he said, "but I don't trust the part of me that made a hotel feel like oxygen. I don't think that part should be in charge of plans." "Then it won't be," I said. "Here are the next 3 days. You find a short-term rental that isn't anywhere you've ever kissed anyone. You move there with a bag that includes the boring things. The charger, the shaving cream you don't like, the socks you keep losing despite living a life indoors. We book a counselor with weekday mornings, and we tell 2 friends each, the kind who do. Let you be clever at your own expense." He looked relieved to be given chores. "And you?" he asked. "I see my sister," I said. "I go for walks where people are walking dogs that aren't mine. I remember how to eat in the daytime." I paused. "If we keep going after that, we write rules. Small ones we can keep, and big ones we can aim at." We divided the cake. It felt absurd. It also felt like refusing a narrative that says sugar can't belong to grief. We ate without candles. We were not making a wish. We were counting. At midnight, the door camera app finally worked. The porch looked like a place where nothing surprising had ever happened. Nate packed the bag before dawn. He kissed the top of my head the way people kiss children and truce flags. I didn't step into it. I said, "Lock the bottom deadbolt when you go. It sticks unless you lift the door." The domesticity of that sentence almost broke me. He lifted the door and it behaved. When he was gone, I stood in the kitchen with the empty cake plate and the relief that comes when the scene stops needing actors. I wrote down everything I knew for sure about us in a notebook. I keep for lists that want company. He fixes the jammed window in one move. I make coffee strong enough to wake a saint. He once drove 3 hours to rescue a plant I'd left in my office over a holiday. I hate most sweaters and love the one he thinks is cursed. He wants to be looked at like a decision. I want the same thing. Around 11, my phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. "Thank you for not making me into an entertainment. I'm sorry." I deleted it, not because it was cruel, but because not everything earns a drawer. I walked to the river and watched a kid steer a remote control boat toward a flock of indifferent ducks. The sun finally decided to do its job. I texted my sister to bring the loudest kind of snacks. On the way home, I bought a plant we don't need. When I set it on the windowsill, it threw a neat shadow, new and certain as a rule we'd just written. I didn't know the ending. That felt like the first honest gift the day had offered.